Today's episode of Roll Notes is pretty special to me because I want to give you a glimpse into some of the personal work that I've been making ever since moving to LA. Outside of filming YouTube videos, I've spent so much of my free time in the evenings just kind of endlessly walking around here. Even after almost a year, I'm just still mesmerized by the beautiful scenery here and the golden light. It's on these evening walks that I've been making so much new personal work. And in this video, we'll go on one of these walks together, take lots of images, and also do a little darkroom printing at the end. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the 6th episode of Roll Notes. LA is by no means a walking city. Driving is a big part of living out here, and that has made walking around, taking photos here feel even more special. Part of the joy for me of this new work is exploring all these new neighborhoods and scenery on foot. Usually my routine goes something like this. I get in a car, drive out to a new neighborhood, and I walk for hours, pretty much until the sun goes down. Walking on foot in a city that is so car-based is a really interesting dynamic. It brings me to these really quiet neighborhoods where I can often walk for quite some time without seeing anybody else. I think the walking aspect of this project has also quite drastically changed what I'm photographing. I find myself stopping and observing little details of a house, some flowers on the side of the road, or even something as simple as a window. Little details that I would normally miss if I was just driving by. My favorite scene of the night caught me off guard a little bit, so I only have an iPhone clip of it, but it was this man sitting in his garage next to this beautiful old white Accord wagon, and he was doing a puzzle. So I asked him if I could take a couple pictures, and he was totally cool with it. The first one wasn't very good, but the second picture I think turned out really nice with this beautiful backlight from these gorgeous windows behind him, the puzzles obviously in the photo, and also the light on the Accord wagon, all at the same time turned out really nice, I think. My favorite thing about these evening walks, as corny as it sounds, is the light. I heard so much about LA light before moving out here, and after having spent almost a year now just watching it every night, it really is something special. I think it's partly the smog in the air and partly just the amazing colors that the sunsets have here, but definitely just the surprise of what it could look like any day of the week is what keeps me really excited to go back out and keep walking. A big part of my work recently, especially since moving to LA, has been darkroom printing. And this is also a large part of the reason I haven't shared most of it, is because these 100, 200 prints are just sitting in boxes. That being said, I want to share a little bit of the process today because it is a big part of making these images for me and I just really enjoy it. Darkroom printing is essentially where you take the negative and in the dark you project it onto light sensitive paper that Kodak or Fuji also makes. And then once the image is projected onto the paper, you actually develop it in chemistry, just like you do with film, or somewhat similar to film. I like it because to me the colors look totally different than a digital scan of a negative. It's really just a matter of personal preference, and I've just been enjoying this where I can work physically with my images as opposed to working on a screen. Here I'm making the first print, which is the test strip, basically showing different intervals of exposure time on a single sheet of paper. I'm using a piece of cardboard to block portions of the print from the light. Once that's done, I put it in the processor, and 3 minutes later, out comes the developed print. This needs to be done a few times, so here's how the making of a final print usually goes. This is the test strip. So in this case, I think somewhere between 6 and 8 seconds is looking nice. So I'm going to make a full print at 6 seconds. I like it. It's a good start, but it needs a little bit of a crop and it could use some adjustments in the time as well. With the crop, it's looking nice, but there's something about this really dark blue in the original test strip that looked really nice. So I wanted to bring some of that back by adding more exposure time again. And this is the final. I really like the dark shadows on the house. It makes a nice backdrop for the plant in the foreground, and I think it just has a really nice warm color palette mixed with the blue in the sky and the red from the flowers. And just like this, I've been making so many other prints in this project. I don't want to show too many of them yet because this project is at such an early stage still, but I thought this was a fun video anyway to kind of show you what I've been working on here. This is not to be confused with the book that's coming out, On the Sunny Side of the Street. That's a totally different book. That's landscapes from the 4 years that I lived on the East Coast. This is the work since moving to California, and it feels very refreshing, very different from On the Sunny Side of the Street, and I can't wait to show you more of this in the future. while I'm working in my studio, something I love to do is listen to some music from the sponsor of this series, which is Musicbed. It's an incredible all-in-one platform to find music for your next video project. My favorite thing about Musicbed is that it doesn't just sound like stock music. Their selection consists of real music artists, many of who I already enjoyed listening to way before I started using Musicbed. Their mobile app allows me to start listening to songs while I'm on location to get ahead on my editing process. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my description to check out Musicbed and use my code Willem at checkout to get your first month free when you sign up for an annual personal subscription. That's going to wrap it up for the 6th episode of Roll Notes. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week with another video.